222 days since our screens were last graced by the Overwatch League, and it's an honour to don the headset again to bring you our 5th season. I'm Mitch Leslie here with Matt Morello, and what on earth are you wearing, son?
Yeah, I got a new hoodie. It's got, I think these are mountains. I didn't really look. I'm pretty sure these are mountains around.
Did they steal my shirt? Wait,
yeah,
is that the one with the big old mountain on there?
Oh, no. It's just mountains. Right. Just mountains around my collar and my hands. But otherwise, it's just plain.
Matthew, it's prophetic because there's quite a climb for all of our teams returning to the Overwatch League this year, my friend. So good to be back, of course. I'd say you've grown, but that would be a falsehood. The NYXL,
yeah, I'm just
New York
closer
Excelsior.
to my camera. I haven't grown at all.
It's all about framing.
Artificially taller.
Oh, good Lord. The New York Excelsior today will be taking on the Los Angeles Gladiators. This is a match in the Overwatch League that we have not seen for a long, long time. It has been many days since these two rosters got to go head-to-head, and much has changed.
Yeah, I saw a tweet earlier, 1,015 days since the Gladiators have played the New York Excelsior. New York with a much different roster than they had back then. One, they had 6 players playing. Two, they also had, Mecha, Omano, SBP, Libero, but they have a whole new gang this year. Really excited for Yaki and Flora as a DPS combo. I think they have potential to really be a standout combo in the league. And then also in terms of supports, Myungbong and Gangnam Jin, 2 flex supports, but 2 you were kind of like rated pretty highly. 2 that you thought like, hey, if you got on a better team, like we'd see a lot better performance from them. Excited to see them together. It also interested on how it kind of operates in terms of who plays some of those more traditional main supports.
Absolutely. And don't forget Kellen, one of the driving forces in what took O2 Blast to such great success over in Contenders Korea. I mean, when they won their championship, Kellen was playing a lot of Wrecking Ball, a lot of Winston, dive tanks in a very hostile meta for them, right? There's a lot of Zenyatta, there was a lot of Brigitte, a lot of punishing elements to sort of make it hard. So this is a tank player, a main tank player that was able to thrive under those circumstances. Now, yes, it's just one tank here in 5v5, but Kellen is absolutely equipped to do some serious work. Worth pointing out, though, that Wrecking Ball he was known for, it's unavailable right now in this build game.
Yeah, now we can take a look at the Gladiators roster coming into today, and I think kind of like how the desk talked about, this is a team that is loaded up on star talent, like looking to really take the league by storm, really kind of win it all this year. We're adding Reiner, Pattyfan coming in, you have Ons, Funny Astro, right? Like this was a roster last year that was already strong with players like Space and Shu and Skewed and Kevzer, and they've added a ton of just star power and potential to it. I'm really excited to see how they fare in this kind of new 5v5 world.
Absolutely. Let's not forget, brother, that Patapam was a hero for his home country in World Cups of bygone years. Moves over to Valorant, has incredible success, and is brought back here by the Gladiators. They dig deep and say, we want you on this team as a highlight player. And he's sat next to Kevster, one of the most dangerous DPS players that we saw last year. Whichever way you slice it, this DPS matchup is going to be insane. It's a test of unproven tanks at the Overwatch League level here, as Reiner will be going up against Kellen.
And I think when you kind of look at some of the DPS that you see being played right now, whether you've been watching some of your favorite streamers or players play, like Soldier 76, pretty strong right now. You get rid of some of these shields, some of these players with like crazy aim and tracking should be able to pull off some wild stuff today. Our first series, we actually have 3 of our new maps in the pool in this series. So Lijiang Tower to kick things off. That's a kind of OG control map. Then we go to Midtown, Circuit Royal, and then New Queen Street, which I kind of hope we get to New Queen Street. That's been one of the maps, obviously push a new game mode, but that's been one of the maps that kind of like it's been getting the most love by the pro community, and I think kind of the public as well.
Absolutely. This is a 1st-to-3 series, so bear that in mind. Hopefully we can get there. And of course, as the sun rises over a new season of the Overwatch League, it rises over Lijiang Tower as well. Overwatch 2 featuring the new look for this map, but it's mostly unchanged, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest factor here, of course, will be the 5v5 element, and I'm very curious to see what our comps are selected to be, but already hints of that Lucio that we've heard has been absolutely prolific on the PvP beta so far.
Yeah, I mean, Lucio's really strong at being able to keep himself alive, being able to kind of like boop displace players, out of the way. Looks like we see for the Gladiators here at the start, potentially a Doomfist tank coming out. And then for New York Excelsior, having them play that Winston.
Here we go out of the gates now. Patapon going to be on the Genji, a pick that he was known for. Yaki on the Echo, so somewhat different compositions here. Look, you've got the Flora on the Reaper and the Fauna, of course, on the Monkey. Let's see what Yaki can do now. Early pressure down with that focusing beam, and already the Gladiators crumble. That early aggression pays off as it really is Kellen at the fore.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see Echo being played. Echo's like one of the characters that we haven't really talked about a ton coming into Overwatch 2. It's really been a lot about some of the reworks, Soldier's back in the mix, Genji's back in the mix. Echo's still really strong at burning down those tanks.
Reiner here switching over towards the Winston now. Doomfist definitely not well suited to go up against this matchup. Nice biting grenade connection there on Kellen though, and there was just no healing possible for him. Reiner able to ward away the rest of the NYXL now. Play this right side room. He's hit by a biting grenade as well, but the Gladiators have the momentum and they look to flip this point.
You see how difficult it is to kind of keep those supports alive on the New York Excelsior side. As soon as Reiner got in on the Ana and the Lucio, it was tough to keep them up. That's kind of why you're also having the Reaper in the mix here. Reaper really good at just kind of forcing those tanks out. Really good at also just flanking and burning down some of the supports.
Nano Boost is online here and they have been deployed. Flora going to receive the one from his team and a biting grenade on Patapon. If the Gladiators need to turn tail, sound barrier here for the NYXL. But they're stopped in their tracks as Flora has to punch out a few Zs. Myeonbong's gone down early and that is the lion's share of healing away from the NYXL. Looks like the Gladiators want to take a deep fight here and a sound barrier comes out. It's applied to 3 players and Patapon's close to the blade.
Oh, and it looks like actually with that duplicate from Yaki actually gets slept there, so not probably going to get the full effects out of it. Going to get a Primal Rage, so may be able to turn this as it looks like a few kills actually went down from New York over by the choke. So the Gladiators actually invest the sound barrier into that, trying to win that fight kind of handily. And it ends up turning as New York's able to come out on top. It's a pretty big win for New York. So they fell behind in terms of percentage trying to catch up.
Expect to see less of those ultimate abilities come up now in this build of the Overwatch 2 PvP beta. There it is, Death Blossom available. Kester already uses his in the background, and it's going to be Yaki to fall that way. And there it is, Shu is up to his old tricks once more. Patapon's blade fires Myeonbong, and he pressures Kellen down. Now the Gladiators can return to secure the point once more. It's some real flip-flop action here, Matt, in our first round on Lijiang.
So it's been ages since we've seen Genji kind of being meta, really, in Overwatch League, even just Overwatch Esports, even before Overwatch League, it's been ages. Looks like they actually catch Kevser out of position maybe, and they're able to take him out. That's a huge pick there.
Primal's forced here for Reiner. Flora going to go in, and Reiner's going to get slipped straight away, so survivability from the Primal Rage, sure, but he doesn't get to use it aggressively at all. Kellen is a completely different story, though. He finds Shu early, and now we're in a 4v4, but Shu was able to deploy the Nano Boost on towards Patapon, but he didn't have a blade available. Wasn't able to make great use of it, and again, the NYXL moved back in to try and retake. Yaki with 3. That's what we'd like to see from the high-flying DPS star, and the Excelsior are back in control.
Yeah, New York is going to come back into this next fight with a lot of really good ultimates to be able to get to probably that 80%, probably maybe even take it over the line with a sound barrier, nano. Yaki's getting close to the duplicate, still pretty powerful on tanks, although a little bit changed coming in Overwatch 2, and then Death Blossom. Maybe we see that Nano Reaper coming in.
Nano Boost, yeah, Myeonbong, think about it, had to buy the grenade himself there, and a sling
Nano to Lucio.
Flora. Yep, first Lucio already of the Overwatch League Season 5. Sound barrier deployed by Gangnam Jim as well now, and the Excelsior maintain control, but for how much longer? Sticky Bombs get rid of Patapon. He was causing problems. 2 kills without the blade, or just 1 and a duplicate cancel, should I say. Reiner's forced to back on away here again, and the Gladiators, they managed to flip it with the players left on the point, but it's barely contested.
No, I mean, you're kind of waiting for some more players to come back here. So Shu's coming back on the Ana. You can see trying to get back into the line of sight. This could be a huge blade, though.
Or not. Or it's very defensive.
Just like a zoning blade, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's done its job. The Gladiators are still in control now as we head into our first overtime of this season. Kevster couldn't get away. Kellen bounces on him now, and he's looking for more. Yes, Shu's going to be run down. Looks like he tried to go for a sleep dart, but Kellen played the shield very well. No, it came out later, in fact. He puts the Primal Rage in Winston to sleep, but the Excelsior have taken control in the meantime. The Gladiators, they can't get there. Just get a nano-boosted Winston on the point. It's Reiner who's just able to touch, but he's surrounded by foes. He has to Primal Rage, but how long will it last? He's able to stay alive a heck of a long time, and Yaki can't bring the Winston down yet.
Yeah, and you're going to have Kepster coming back here with his Death Blossom. Yes, use Wraithborn trying to get a health pack and then make his way back to the point. Is here, Flora's Death Blossom's going to get two, and oh, nice play there from Myungbong.
The sleep dart on towards Kevster is huge. He tries to make the play that Flora did, and the Gladiators can't get there. Hotly contested first round here on Lijiang Tower. I love to see it.
As we'll see what both teams decide to play moving forward. I was a bit surprised, I don't know about you, to see the Echo. Echo is a character that, like, you know, when you kind of spoke to teams and you know, even just kind of watch players like stream and play, like Echo was really one that, like, you didn't really see getting lots of love. So to see Echo here at the start, really curious how New York plans to use it moving forward.
I mean, again, for Yaki, maybe a feeling that he's not dealing with any real hit scan pressure, right? Nothing medium to long range, no Soldier, no Cassidy, and no Sojourn there to sort of clip his wings. This time will be a different story, though. The Gladiators roll Kevster out on the legs, and those legs, they're damn fast.
Yeah, Soldier is really strong right now. If you've seen some of the balance changes this morning, you know, those are not kind of what we're playing here today. Need some time for the pro players to kind of get their hands on it before we implement it. As Yaki gets one and Kellen gets knocked off the side. Soldier very strong because he gets the passive of the DPS mobility plus his sprint, and then just the consistent damage output he's able to put is just massive right now.
Great setup in that fight map from Myungbong, and a biotic grenade that a lot of pressure down early. It will be the Gladiators in control to start with. Kevster on that Soldier 76, like you said, you're very, very good at getting back to the fight when he has to. Yaki playing solo there on the side and is just able to avoid getting brought down, but Patapan's going hunting. Flora seems to be on the chopping block, but look at the response. It's going to be a Helix Rocket finish on him, and the back and forth fighting. We'll see Shu playing for the point, and Kellen not very charged up here despite having all these bubbles, unable to really ramp up that damage, but he doesn't need it against just Tiana. And the Excelsior are back in control.
Yeah, Zarya's got a completely new playstyle here in 5v5, right? Now, the bubbles share a cooldown, so you're able to kind of use both bubbles on yourself, stay alive for a ton, or kind of bubble like two DPS or flankers kind of going in. So Reiner gets right on top of Yaki and takes him out as you know, Echo still has a very small health pool, very fragile.
Reiner here able to play a little bit more aggressively now. Has some range available to him on the Winston as well. That right click, while it doesn't seem like it does a ton of damage, in a pinch, it makes a big difference. Flora over the edge there, of course, name being in purple. It's an environmental kill from Funny Astro, sends him careening over the edge. NYXL have to make their way back towards the point here. The Gladiators are in control once more, and they have a Nano Visor if they want it. Shu lets the Nano go. It's going to be Patapan, actually, who goes deep.
Well, you have two great Nano targets, right? If you're the Gladiators, Nano Visor or Nano with the Blade. This is going to be a Graviton Surge here as NYXL, they kind of clean house here. Grab plus a Nano boost should be able to go back and take the point.
Excelsior looking to retake control, and they will do now. Great fight there, and the Gladiators not able to get a lot of value out of a nano-boosted Patapan. Perhaps the expectation was maybe he'd build a blade during the duration of the ultimate. It didn't happen, and yeah, he'll have that blade now, but there's no nano boost to sort of complement either of those DPS ultimates in this next fight. Same could be said of the Excelsior right now. Reiner, though, with the Primal Rage is looking to sow some discord and disruption.
Looks like Kevster going to have to flank here a little bit. Is going to get pushed out as Patapan uses the blade. We haven't seen any of those big blades yet. I think it's also because like players can spread out a little bit more, right, in 5v5, where in the past you would see teams like clump together and you'd be able to get these massive blades. I'm sure as time goes on we'll see them, but early on the blade hasn't been massive.
No, Patapan's died 9 times so far in this map, which is more than any other DPS by a factor of a third. So definitely getting targeted down, definitely being focused here. And moving towards the Genji, definitely going to paint a target on your back when it gets to the closer quarters fighting. Yaki going to drift down here like Mary Poppins, but losing Myungbong here probably doesn't give him a lot of confidence about alighting on the ground for now.
How do you get here through the YXL? I think it's going to be also difficult, Mitch, like playing this Echo without like a Mercy or something, like against this Soldier, because we were just talking about how good Soldier is right now.
Or the Ana, for that matter.
Right, it's like the Soldier the speed to be able to kind of get away from the Echo if it's a bad situation or whatnot. It's going to be really difficult. And now with the nano boost for the Gladiators, we'll see how they decide to do this, and a prime opportunity to steal this round.
Yeah, the Excelsior want to finish or get back control here as the Gladiators look to try and end the round as Reiner pushing forward though. Hit with a defensive biotic grenade. Looking to cause some problems here possible, but Patapon falls for the focusing beam. That's the 10th death for that Genji player right now. Reiner falling as well bodes ill for the Gladiators, who will have to pull out for now and let New York get another look back in.
Looked like Patapon was going the Tracer there for a second, but Tracer got adjusted kind of coming into the beta, so we haven't seen a ton of Tracer play really at all. But a good tack visor here from Kevser, and you kind of put this round in the Gladiators' favor. It's just how do you end up using this tack visor, and in what position? I'm also curious how the Excelsior kind of battling against this. You see Yaki just trying to get out of harm's way.
Kevser gave up on trying to get rid of Yaki there. He sort of gets out of his line of sight, and Kangnan Dim's going to fall down now. This is bad for New York. Not a good beginning of the fight for them at all. Shu fights two final blows in this engagement, and Yaki can only really pick Kevster off with a focusing beam. That's very, very close for Kellen as he's just able to touch, but a solo grab means it's a last-ditch effort, and we're off to a third round on Leisure.
So, all right, it'll come down to the wire in our first control map. The first series of the league this year, Overwatch 2. For the NY Excelsior, I'm interested if Yaki kind of moves away from this Echo, because last year you would kind of classify him as you played a ton of Echo, Tracer, play some Genji, which maybe I'm a little bit surprised we don't see the Genji out of Yaki, but really kind of hard committing to this Echo right now. Maybe they feel like it's better value in terms of ultimate, compared to the Dragon Blade, but the Dragon Blade just so, Genji in general, just so effective at diving supports.
And here again, you have one less tank to heal in Overwatch 2. You can see how Shu is spending that time by acting as yet another DPS player there. So Ana obviously giving you that little, on top of having some of the only hard CC available supports in this build, also just being able to dish out a pretty respectable amount of damage now. No changes compositionally for the Gladiators here. You can say the same for New York, as Kevster wants to work the flank here. He's trying to pressure Flora out of pole position.
Yeah, as you see kind of this angle that Kevster can get is put some damage down on the side, and I know New York, they have to respect it a little bit, but it looks like the dive comes in from the other side as Reiner's able to jump on top of Yaki. So yet again, if Echo doesn't have the ability to fly away, right, and you kind of get in that close quarter area, so fragile, able to just take out that character so fast.
I mean, to put it in perspective here, these two main tank players, the two tank players, 9 final blows for Kellen, 7 for Reiner. That's at sort of DPS level right now, except for Yaki, who has 15, which is more than double of sort of any other 2 DPS combined. Reiner falls here, though. Simian-based aggression eventually going to be brought to a stop and floor. A lovely catch. Patapon just as he touches the ground. But New York have to make their way towards the point here, and they'll be slowed up with Kellen punching out Z's again. Bionic Field was deployed there by Kevster, but he realized he couldn't really hang around for very long. And Winston is awake for New York. Let's see what they can do with Kellen at the moment. Lacking Yaki, it's time to regroup.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to give up a ton of percentage here to the Gladiators, as Gladiators going to get close to 50%, as the Excelsior haven't even really made it out of the spawn, and now you're going to have the nano boost that you use on a Reiner to farm up, maybe a Primal Rage.
Oh, okay, Shu barely able to keep Kevster alive there as he has to sprint away from the action. And yeah, tactical visor from Flora, but it's shut down. Patapon finally finds a bit of purchase here, gets up in the face of that soldier. And that triple shuriken headshot is nasty, even if you have that ultimate available. Gunajin's in deep danger as well. That's going to be another one, and that's a third. Patapon farming his resets, farming New York, and putting the Gladiators further in the lead. It's 63% and counting.
I was going to say it was actually awesome kind of support play from Gangnam Jin, able to boot back and kind of keep Yaki alive a little bit, but Patapon on the Genji just too strong, as you're going to have his blade, you're going to have Tack Visor here to try and put this one away for the Gladiators.
Yeah, Gladiators definitely digging deep here. It's a sound barrier just to make sure they can get stuff done with these ultimates. Patapon, speaking of stuff, he's about to do it to Flora. Cleans him up with the blade after already getting Myeonbong, and now he's coming alive in this series. A bit of a quiet start in those first few rounds, but his Genji's starting to shine.
Yeah, as you push so far up into the Excelsior spawn, it's can Yaki even make it here to touch? It's going to be really close as Kellen gets on the point.
Yeah, again, it's got to be Kellen. Yaki's able to get there, though, in this overtime. Reiner, though, getting rid of the back line. So the NYXL have nothing to fall back on. The legs are being cut out from under them here, and Reiner is going to be using the fists, trying to send them flying. Yaki's going to be knocked out of the duplicate now. Flora needs to make something happen, but great shield dancing by Reiner means that the Reaper can't get that damage. Over the top we go. Gladiators once again still need to deal with Kellen and the Lucy of Gangnam Jim there, trying to stay in this fight, but eventually he'll be repelled, and the Gladiators get their first map win of the season, off to a great start here in a hotly contested first map.
Yeah, and I think New York, people were trying to figure out like where to put them in terms of power rankings, because obviously they play in the East region, a completely new roster coming back here to the West. They look really strong here against the Gladiators team we expect to contend. So excited for the rest of the series and seeing what New York can do.
Absolutely. Speaking of New York, we're off to Midtown on the other side of the break, so stick around for this star-studded matchup to kick off Season 5 of the Overwatch League.
Check my Betty G shock, said it's time. All my thoughts linked up, multiplying, no divide. Dropping hit after hit, never miss. It's a crime, but my karma stay lit. Buddha sit by my side.
Well, it's definitely been a long time since these two teams have faced off, and all the vigor building up over more than 2 years. Definitely seeing some of that expended on Li Jiangtao and Matthew. Exciting stuff. Two teams sporting slightly different DPS lineups. I feel like we got to see Reiner and Kellen showcased in a big way. Everyone putting in some serious efforts to make it a close affair.
Yeah, no subs, it looks like, for either team going into this next map. So it leads you to believe that they're going to play some of the same stuff, which I think at least for like our first, week or so, Mitch, I think it's going to be a lot of just like experimentation from teams. And I'm sure teams have a much different read on kind of like what's effective and what's not at this stage, right?
Yeah.
Although they've been practicing for, about 8-9 weeks now, right? Like, still, it's like kind of you're looking at some of the heroes that you kind of have now that you've known they've been good at one thing in the past, but then with like kind of the different like map philosophy and the 5v5 and changes to other heroes, they all interact in different ways. So you're kind of like trying to like put this puzzle back together, so to speak. So I think you're going to see a lot of just changes throughout this first like 2-3 weeks. I'm excited to see what happens here on Midtown though. Midtown was one of the maps that got revealed really early on. I think like that PvP stream that we did ages ago, where I think 5v5 was like announced.
Right. That was great.
And it's it's got like this really tough choke at the beginning. As you go to the second part of the map with like the underpass. There's a lot of like high ground there. I think like
sorry,
this map is
can we stick to proper Overwatch naming conventions? Car wash, right? The car wash in that second part of the map. Yeah.
Sure.
Say it after me. Car wash.
Car wash.
There you go. Perfect. Obviously, yeah, this is a hybrid map, right? So you were sort of mentioning that getting to that first point in the first place can be pretty treacherous, right? Trying to play underneath the railroad car. I don't know what bloody call it in New York. You're a native here, Matt, so you can
Subway car?
Subway car. But it's outside, isn't it, mate? What's it under?
Subway can go outside a little bit. Or train.
Really?
I mean, train car, subway car. Yeah, I mean, it's all.
Yeah, I said that. All right. Well, you're our tour guide for this map. Our first time we're going to get to see Midtown here in the Overwatch League. First map definitely saw, again, a lot of focus towards Arden, towards Soldier 76, towards that Winston. We did get to see a little bit of the Xayah, and Kellen looked pretty frightening on that. The Excelsior defending here, though, this is a very common pick for Flora for much of last year. The Ashe was really a signature go-to for him. Let's see what he can do with it defensively.
Yeah, you can get some like long sight lines here on defense. Just doesn't have that consistent damage output that Soldier 76 does. And then going with the Zarya here. So killing on defense with Zarya. Obviously the bubbles for himself, the supports. I also think for Yaki, if he's going to go in and try and make plays, especially against his Soldier, going to need some extra resources.
Okay, Reiner all the way up into the top of the building, wanting to deny that perch from Flora. Ketzer again going to be accosted by Yaki for what's the third time already in this round. And a very quick little rotation there for New York to get to the low ground here. They've lost Gangnam Jim though.
You see Reiner, he gets one and actually tries to like almost double back towards his choke, but it looks like Shu and Ketzer, they just kind of have that under control, so he keeps on pushing forward as Gladiators with a clean first fight, able to take out pretty much everybody here from the Excelsior, and they should be able to take this first point. We'll see if NYXL, they go and try and touch it again, as Kellen actually switches over to the D.Va.
Yeah, okay, looks like they're not going to try and touch here.
No.
Yeah, look, maybe New York were caught a little bit off guard at the early part of the round because they quickly rotated from high to low ground when they saw this LA composition.
Yeah, I also think you see the immediate like impacts of 5v5, and also when like Reiner jumps up into that window, like you notice he doesn't really take a ton of damage. Like that's where like the Soldier 76 sort of just like pounded him with shots from range, but the Ashe just doesn't have that consistent damage output. And he was able to go in, make a play. You have Kempster over to the side and a 1v1 against Yaki. The game just a lot spread out. Ooh, yeah, he looked like he was trying to wall climb there, and maybe kind of just gotten like taken out. As Kellen just jumps on him real fast.
He ate Dynamite from Flora, and then he got chased down by Kellen. So even with a bit of healing, it wasn't actually enough to keep him alive from two separate sources of damage sort of ticking at the same time. I mean, this is where the Ashe really can shine a bit, right? If you get to play around chokes. And look at the butt dive that had to be used here by Reiner. Knew there was an Ashe at large, had to turn away and obscure that headshot hitbox. Patapan's a little bit of trouble here though. Kellen about to run him down, and Yaki gives him the goo.
Yes, this is the high ground I was talking about, where you were mentioning a car wash to choke underneath here, as far as I'm concerned. It's just difficult to pass through. You have this like high ground bridge that the defense can play on, and you look at like how collapsing you can be, right? Like Kellen can be so pestering here on the D.Va off to the side. You have the damage from Flora up on this high ground. You know, you have Patapan on the bottom trying to just move the payload. But look at this, they're gonna get like separated by this Bob almost. Looks like actually Bob gets left right away.
Yeah, honestly, harder to shut down Bob now in 5v5, especially with a lot of that CC taken away from support. So Sleep Dart there had to be employed to get rid of the robotic menace. Reiner causing problems of his own here. Kellen forced away. You see Myeonbong desperately trying to keep him standing, but now the pressure going towards the Ana, and Myeonbong couldn't hold up under it. The Gladiators again find another gear, ferociously advancing towards this next checkpoint.
Yeah, they end up using the duplicate there. For the Excelsior, I believe that was on like the Winston, but didn't really get much of anything with it. So coming into this next fight, the Gladiators, this first corner is like one of the hardest to get around because there's really good high ground for the defense. But like we've been kind of talking about and discussing, like, you know, you don't have like that soldier, you don't have like a, you know, a Genji even. I mean, the Genji kind of like challenges that high ground, right? If you're the Gladiators, like Yaki can fly up there. He's just a little bit slower, not as like fast, and you're gonna have attack visor here with the nano coming through. Everybody's hiding.
Kellen got put to sleep, so again, you know, he wasn't able to mitigate much of that damage, and how quickly the Excelsior had to back away. The blade get pulled there by Patapan, but he's going to be burnt down by Yaki, and now the pressure mounts. Finally, New York starting to find a little bit of backbone here. Looking for Reiner. Funny Astro having to skitter away as he can, as Kevster is brought low. Reiner's going to have to abscond as well.
Yeah, and with the attack visor, you saw everybody run for cover. As soon as he didn't have the D.Va with the defense matrix, everybody just has to hide. It buys a little bit of like payload time, where the Gladiator is able to move it a little bit, but not that much. Now we see a Widowmaker sighting, so we've seen a lot of heroes already from both teams here in our first series.
Oh, there it is. Dive comes in. Reiner looking to get aggressive, and Patapan on the Widowmaker. Yaki gets a free haircut and is forced to back away quickly. That's brilliant from Patapan, able to get rid of Kellen before he can remake. Stunning stuff here from this newest edition, and he's looking to continue the pressure. Not playing high ground necessarily, but the threat he generates is immense.
Yeah, Widowmaker was a hero I know a lot of the community, like coming into 5v5 with less shielding, was like really worried about. But hasn't been like the incredibly dominant force I think people were expecting, because you do have some of these dive tanks and heroes being played as Reiner gets put to sleep here as he tries to go in backline, as they'll invest a sound barrier to keep everybody up.
Gangnam Jim close to his as well. New York are going to have this in a moment, so it's a small window to work with. And New York don't even need it to win the fight. Both backliners are put down, and Kellen's able to dive upon Patapan. This will slow the Gladiators down once more as Yaki opts to duplicate the Ana. That should indicate just how powerful she is right now.
Yes, also just kind of with the change that have gone on to Echo, where you just have like a max HP you can get, so you can't just like copy another tank and get that full HP pool. So now we're going to get our first Tracer sighting. So talking a little bit about Tracer, and you know, it doesn't have like the ability to kind of challenge the high grounds as like Genji does, but still pretty strong.
Reiner might have to primal here, no other choice. Yeah, watch out for the Armored Titan, he'll make short work if Myeonbong forced to Biotic Grenade himself, and Reiner's not able to juggle effectively. He might look to pressure again, just try and keep tabs on that Ana, make it hard for them to have an impact, but really no follow-up there was able to be made off that Winston ultimate.
Okay, so now, you know, Flora is starting to, you know, pick off some of these players as they come in, right? He's not as much of a dive target as maybe the supports are. And you can keep him at range, right? Doesn't have the damage output consistent to Soldier 76, but you know, has the ability to finish off players in like 1-2 shots, right? Depending on how low they are. As Yaki goes in, tries to get some stickies onto Kevster and finish him off, but he gets a big pocket here.
Myeonbong riddled with bullets and a beautiful double from the Helix rocket from Kevster. Able to get most of the damage done towards Gangnam Jim, forcing him away. 3 kills and counting for Kevster, and the Gladiators have finally broken through. New York can come back with a Primal Rage for Kellen, but that's it.
Yeah, you're going to have Primal Rage. Patty with the pulse bomb here. We'll see if he gets anything. Doesn't connect with much, so no ultimates really outside of this Primal. And oh yeah, Patiphan goes a little bit too deep there. Floor able to finish him off.
It's kind of rough out there for Tracer right now, I'm not going to lie. That's kind of the way things have been going for them for the moment. Kellen is happy to buy a little bit of time. I think with that Patiphan though, most of the pressure had already sort of been weaned off from the Gladiators.
Yeah, it's going to be the sound barrier here, though, for the Gladiators. They're going to try and push in. It looks like Reiner got slept, but then woken up by somebody from the Excelsior. So and now he's able to put in a little bit extra work. Is Funny Astro trying to keep everybody up. You're going to get close to a Primal and a Nano here for the Gladiators.
Funny Astro trying to deny Kellen the safety of his bubble, but a lot of pressure now from the back line. Kellen's able to be healed up through all of this, and there's really only about 24 seconds left in the round. New York doing a great job staving off the aggression from the Gladiators here, but Yaki's brought down. There's still a player advantage though for New York, and oh dear, that Biter Grenade's nasty. Is there follow-up? Patiphan finds one, but Kevs is forced away by Kellen, and Patiphan might have overstayed his welcome somewhat.
And you only have 9 seconds on the clock here as the Gladiators going to have to get back in and get a touch. It looked like Kevster was close. Had to run off as Funny Astro going to get around, just barely touch.
Taking far too much damage there, and here's the sound barrier for New York just to make sure they've got this secured. Duplicate for Yaki to cause even more trouble, but it's not necessary, and the Gladiators are brought to a standstill just before the end of the map.
All right, so the Excelsior are able to keep it from going all the way in. Still, pretty good push for the Gladiators, right? They basically got it the entire length, and I think that you're going to probably see, obviously a different comp from the Gladiators on defense than we saw the Excelsior play. Maybe be able to hold that first point a little bit longer. So pretty good for the Gladiators. The Excelsior really, it was just that first point they gave up instantly. Like they gave up point A, and then once the payload started to move, maybe like a little bit of time they stalled in the middle. Really good hold here on this last point though.
Yeah, absolutely. And for attackers, obviously, just need to make this L-shaped turn with a lot of different flanking routes for defenders. It looked like Yaki and Flora were able to settle in just a little bit more. And the Gladiators struggled to pressure Kellen. I mean, that Tracer pick from Patiphan looked like it struggled for the most part to do much until there was this big 3-player biotic grenade from Shu, which really set up a kill. But by that point, the rest of the Gladiators weren't in position. I want you guys to keep watching Shu. This guy, #1 in hero damage on Ana last year, #1 in enemy slep, #1 in offensive assist. A legitimate weapon to any roster on this Ana.
Yes, I will take a look at a replay from Flora's POV. It's a nice shot there on the Patiphan. The coach gun knocking back, and then shots to finish him off. As I know, Tracer can be a pest, especially with the reduction of CC across.
Hard for her to succeed between Lucio and Ash with the coach gun. A little tricky to make it work. Patiphan on the Genji now though.
Yeah, it's I still the Genji soldier is kind of like what you thought would be the meta. That's kind of like what I actually expected. I think Scott was talking a little bit about it on the desk. He expected as well. So you see Flora now will actually play the 76. So didn't want to play it on defense, maybe a little bit longer sightline. Just want to play a little bit more passive, backed by his supports, and now brings the soldier.
Oh, that's silky smooth, Matt. He even notes, by the way, that Flora is flanking on the right-hand side. He sort of pings it out, backs away, effortlessly sort of deals with Reiner there. Excuse me, with Kellen, should I say. Flora, though, has gotten himself in a position here in the top of this sort of fire station, and Patiphan has to go for a quick deflect to stay alive. Now Flora needs to decide, do I stay or do I go?
Yes, already, it's like almost a better hold already from the Gladiators than we saw from the Excelsiors. It looks like Kellen trying to push, Kevster all the way out. Kevster on the defensive end of things, right? Trying to push him out of this position here, but now they kind of like traded power positions, right? Where like the offense, this would be kind of like the high ground you would end up taking, where I know New York is set up on the defensive side. So man, if Patty had a blade, this would be massive, but still just enough on just, the Genji in general to make a play.
And the biotic grenade, so huge here. It's already hard enough to sort of heal right now with those numbers being toned down. Making it impossible, just, oh dear. Makes it very, very tricky to keep that tank standing. Patiphan having to deflect a heck of a lot of damage here. Force right on back. He's being given healing though, as the Gladiators find a way to stabilize again. Gangnam Jin, dangerous. Reiner runs him down, and I don't think Yaki's going to be much more fortunate. Look at the respect, the discipline here from Reiner. He doesn't immediately chase after. He's able to find the kill.
Yes, I know. Going to have Primal Rage here. Could potentially, push some of these players even further back as Gladiators push really far up as Young Bung, as soon as he came out, it was a nice biotic grenade, but not going to live long.
Patapon able to find that elimination, and the Gladiators are starting to bank some serious ultimates here. Shu the only one without one to leverage, and the NYXL are now heading down within 90 seconds left to capture this point A. Little bit of a precarious position, and I mean, both teams have been building up to what seems this fight, Matt. This is where a lot of those ultimates are going to have to come out. It's about to get heavy.
Yes, you're going to have the sound barrier here for New York. It's actually going to be Yaki using the duplicate here onto the Winston. You notice only gets that 300 HP. That's what I was talking about before in terms of how the duplicate was swapped. But going to jump up as soon as he uses Primal. But still, you're not really able to get much with that. You also used your sound barrier at that time, and you lost Kellen.
Yeah, I mean, that was very reactive from the Gladiators here. Patapon's Blade looking to try and bail them out of trouble here, but he's brought down by Yaki, who eventually himself will succumb. Now we're inside 1 minute, and the Gladiators were able to hold on. That duplicate from Yaki on the Winston into the Primal, it looked fine, but the Gladiators had so much defensively available.
Yes, this is going to be difficult for the Excelsior to kind of get on through. What, you have the nano boost, but you don't have like attack visor. You're not even close to building up Primal to be able to work off that. So what do you do? I mean, I guess you're going to have to just nano the Winston on the way in. We're going to have Flora actually switch over to the Reaper here. So maybe they want to try and just get like a rush in, just try and burn down one of these targets. But they've been trying to go after Kevster, especially with their Winston, but he's been doing a great job maneuvering around the map.
Okay, focusing beam attempted, burning down. Yo, Yaki just never make it happen. Yeah, they're doing everything into him.
Yeah, they nanoed Kevster here is to keep him up, and you see just even without the visor, what you can do with the nano and the Soldier 76 is fantastic hold here by the Gladiators. New York does not even get point A, and the Gladiators jump up 2-0.
Oh, Matthew, I've got some bad news for you. If you out there are hoping to see some new Queen Street in this first series of the day, you may be disappointed. The Gladiators there after what was such a close first map. This time, an absolute blowout on Midtown. Yaki was nano boosted there as well when they sent him after Kevster. Kevster received it as well and just absolutely disintegrated that Echo. NYXL, New York, not able to make too much happen with that aggressive style composition, and maybe it's the Echo having to cross these expanses which made it a little bit tough for them. There's no shortage of incredible talent on either of the support lines especially, and you can see how Shu could be a game changer when you have to pivot, when you have to play defensively. And Funny Astro's sound barrier there in one of those key fights when Yaki found the duplicate was what allowed this Gladiators team to hold up under that pressure. They're going to take a break, and so will we. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with our third map in the series right after these messages. Well, Matthew, if the Scrimbucks exchange was anything to go by, then perhaps people aren't too surprised by this result. The Gladiators were definitely, the whispers were running around the rumour mill that this team was performing extremely well in their scrims. And New York now, their return to the United States has been met with a furor and a lot of aggression from this Gladiators roster here. They're looking very, very good. New York, stacked with talent, but haven't managed to find their rhythm just yet in this series.
Yeah, no, the Gladiators are looking how we kind of thought they would, right? Looking really strong here early on. New York, keeps it close in certain situations, but yeah, just kind of seems like maybe they kind of need to change around what they've decided to play on some of these maps. Kind of worked in scrims, maybe not working now. I thought you were actually going to talk about that Gladiators video that we just played. They hit every pro gamer pose you could. Yup, they had the ice in the veins. They had the jersey pop. That one.
But you know what's missing?
Rub the hands and look side-eye the camera.
It's missing the T-pose, bro. Where was this?
They hit every pro gamer pose in one video.
I want to see the Ginyu Force ones as well. So only one guy on this side like that, and the other guy like this, and then one guy in the middle like that. Like that, we are missing so many opportunities with these photo shoots. I know our content creation team that works with these teams, our photographers are incredible. Let's mix it up a little bit, you know what I mean?
I just think Space every day just standing there, just rubbing his hands together with the side eye. That's kind of how he just warms up for his day.
That's the side hustle, you know what I mean? He's just like, yeah, keep it coming, fam. You know what I mean? My guy working on them investments. So far, the Gladiators investments in the off-season, they were paying off in a big way, right? Got to see Midtown, arguably a home map for this Excelsior team, where they looked to struggle. They definitely wanted to make use of the Echo as much as they could. Seemed like a bit of a meta call even, Matthew, but it was ultimately unsuccessful. A lot of the time, Yaki's trying to dive on Kevster. We've got some substitutions here, and these are crucial, right? Arns is back in the league, of course, now going to the other Californian team. Looking pretty scary. Now, Reiner is the Armored Titan, and Space is the Founding Titan. This guy obviously on this team for 5 years, one of the original members. He's back in here at Tank.
Yeah, he's so old he played with Custa. I don't know how many players we have in the league actually done that at this point. And then Skew comes in for Funny Astro. When you go into Circuit Royal, I think what you kind of see with this map is like really, I know that second point has that high elevation, like that, just kind of like you go uphill, something that like you don't really see on any other map. So no space probably in. Maybe you want to play some of the D.Va, right? Saw them play D.Va on the previous map. Ons with like a Widowmaker here could be pretty devastating. Excited to see what they bring in with some of these subs.
Yeah, obviously, Space, founding member of the league, not of this roster, right? We saw him on the Los Angeles Valiant, of course, for a time, and
he was
an exciting player over there. Yeah, before it was like the lime green Valiant, right? Before the forest green Valiant,
yeah, they went through
the bloody blue and yellow Valiant.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. Yes. Like thinking of the 5th season and thinking about some of the previous ones. You know, it's crazy how far it's come.
I mean, yeah, and this guy, I mean, he's had so many hair looks as well. You know what I mean? He's been rocking this one for a little while now. Definitely seems to suit him. But I want to point out something. Space on stream sort of mentioned, hey, look, we've had like a month of practice here on the Overwatch 2 PvP beta, which has been great. Obviously, there's not a ranked mode in that game, so it's been a little bit hard for me, he says, to sort of pick up the main tank heroes that were in Overwatch 1, like your Reinhardt, your Winston, obviously a lot of those heroes, the Orisa to a degree. So we probably will expect to see Space show us what he's good at, right? Incredible Zarya, D.Va, a lot of those heroes that were dubbed flex tanks in Overwatch 1. Expect to see Space piloting one of those heroes. He said obviously he's much more confident, comfortable on those.
Maybe even like Sigma. We haven't seen Sigma at all. He's like one of the tanks like I feel like that hasn't been talked about really at all. Like as Doomfist gets like moved to the tank role, big changes. You kind of have Orisa obviously with all the adjustments to her. We haven't really kind of talked about Sigma. It's last season's stats with Yaki and Kevser. These stats obviously are going to be way different this year because you're obviously losing a player in terms of like one of the highest HP targets to take out. But you can just see like how good they were on this hero last year. We haven't seen Kevser on Echo yet. We have seen Yaki on it thus far, but maybe we see it from Kevser eventually.
Absolutely. I mean, and to be fair, this next map really features a huge amount of verticality, right? Reminiscent a little bit of what we saw at Eichenwalde, but taken up a notch, right? Circuit Royale, that sort of second phase of the map involves a precipitous climb. Where, like a lot of these sort of heroes that look to dominate the skies could have some value. I think it's great to see Skewed back in this lineup, right? People, lamenting obviously the lack of or the absence of Moth on this team last year, right? Incredible main support player Lucio and of course Mercy were some of his sort of most well-known picks. Skewed spent so much time on this roster because he excelled when it came to playing Brig or to sort of backing Shu up on the Zenyatta when he played Baptiste. This Gladiators roster really preferred to go for those looks with a really nasty either high crowd control or high damage backline. So expect to see Skewed sort of continue that trend, right? Come out on here and look to play something that's, pretty devastating. He's got such a broad skill set here at support in general. And we know what Arns does. I mean, I personally saw Arns in some scrim matches, performing on hit scan heroes, and he looked like he just hadn't missed a beat. The narrative map on the sort of watch point earlier was that, it was a pretty inauspicious year for him last year. Arns actually went away to Valorant, which meant
he went away, came back. Yeah. I think last year just kind of jumped back into it. It was like a team kind of in not really flux throughout the year, but high expectations. Just kind of I think this year probably obviously everybody, I don't want to say put on even footing, right? Because there are a lot of heroes in the game and kind of mechanics that still remain the same, but kind of everybody kind of a little bit learning in that kind of fashion. And he's great at hit scan heroes, and hit scan heroes happen to be pretty strong right now. And there's not a lot of shields, so you figure if Ons was ever going to pop off, return kind of the Ons we've seen in the past, it would be in this type of setting.
Absolutely. And again, with in Overwatch 2, with maybe people playing further apart and there being just less sort of prevalence of shields, we theorized even before we got to see the first games on the Overwatch 2 PvP beta that a hero like Widowmaker or any sort of medium to long range hit scan could be doubly punishing because of the inability for enemy tanks to sort of either mitigate sightlines with extra shields or to get in their face. It's a tough decision, right, for a tank that goes up against a Widowmaker. Do I try and pressure this Widow, or do I peel for my team? Do I try and provide some form of protection? So here's our defensive lineup for the New York Excelsior here on Circuit Royal, and it's going to be once again a trend towards the Zarya here for Kellen. Double bubble, double trouble. She's looking to be pretty punishing here as she starts to ramp up that charge.
Yeah, and for the Gladiators, still obviously some time to make some changes, but potentially space on the Sigma. Sigma was one of his best heroes. I think you can freely say like D.Va and Sigma probably his best. And what do you kind of get out of the supports and DPS? A Sojourn Widowmaker would be interesting here. It's like, you know, Sojourn doesn't have a sniper all the time, but a little bit in that fashion.
Oh, you got to do
Kevster
it.
just teasing. He's actually going to play Tracer.
This is still exciting. Kevster, obviously, his Tracer, really scary last year. We highlighted the echo between these two sort of DPS players, but Kevster's Tracer was also really devastating. So Arndt's looking for early flank angles, and he's expecting the echo. You can see he's looking for it here, Matt. And space is on the Sigma.
Yeah, you're going to have a Baptiste Zen backline, which...
the throwback, baby!
Yeah, a bit of a throwback, and we haven't seen a ton of either hero, because, like, Baptiste with his kit, like, really kind of functions around, like, groups being, like, clumped together, right? Immortality Field, like, the strongest part of his kit.
And that's happening less, right?
It's happening way less. I mean, even, the Amplification Matrix, the window, like, how do you have to kind of be grouped together to get value out of that? As you see, Yaki gets the bubble to try and go in, make a play on Ons.
All right, Sticky Bomb's there, putting a lot of pressure on space. Shu's able to find Yaki, though. Nice job there with the Baptiste again. That hit scan pressure starting to take its toll. Arndt's is able to deal with Gangnam Jim there, and Kellen's actually forced to bubble himself. Does he have any more left? He's playing around that corner, so it's very unlikely. Space is able just to pressure him down, and the Gladiators, again, just pushing into the Excelsior and overrunning them.
Right, and this is a part of the map that we were talking about. It's so difficult. You see just the verticality here, and then, like, one of the odder things in, like, an Overwatch map, like, really no other like it is, Arndt's just, taking heads here. There's, like, that kind of, like, rotating, like, you kind of go up, and then you turn around and come back up to the high ground. If you're playing from the low ground here, right, with the Sigma's great, because D.Va you would have to fly up and use the Matrix, or the Matrix gets a little bit of an extension, so you're able to kind of grab some stuff. But, like, the shields can be just sent up to the high ground, right? You can just kind of put it in the face of the Widowmaker at any range, as you see Kevster here just bullying Flora.
It's harder to do this on Tracer, right? To go in and get those sort of one clicks just to roll over backliners, especially Lucio, which has some functional self-peel with that boot back. But Kevster's been pretty conservative with his positioning. This Gravitic Flux could be nasty. Countdown to the only one to actually be held aloft by that one, and it's punishing. Arndt's just dealing death in the background there as Kellen fell by a headshot. And this is a different look. This is a 3-player substitution for the Gladiators, and they look more scary.
Yeah, it is. This is like a death lineup here. As the Gladiators just rolling through New York right now. As New York is going to be on some ultimates here. Like, it's really their first kind of like round of them on this game. You can take a look from Arndt's POV here. Space grips him up. He lines him up like Arndt's hits the insanely difficult shots. Those easy ones, he's not going to miss those.
Frighteningly consistent when it comes to that Widowmaker, even in the most high pressure of situations. Close to Infrasight here. And Shu, of course, has the Amplification Matrix ready and waiting. Kevster looking for a way to sort of play around the outside of the building, but the New York Excelsior are really trying to camp out that part of the map and deny the Gladiators the ability to sort of scale up their presence through this hallway. Arndt's, though, again, Infrasight, he knows exactly where Flora's playing from, but both Widows have used his ultimate, so they will be keeping tabs on each other. Both teams will be keeping their heads down for that 12 seconds.
Yeah, and Kellen's got this grab. It can obviously be eaten by the kinetic grasp of Sigma. You also have the immortality field here to potentially use, so it looks like you're just going to grab like maybe one player in there, and it looks like you're able to get those skewed space and Shu out of it. The payload's still moving though. It's going to get very close. You're going to have Arndt's and probably Kevster drop here. Maybe Kevster's able to make it out with his life, but you can see as we get closer to the end of this map, this is kind of where the defenders spawn. They come out of this, like, it's rare for an Overwatch map. Like, you have, like, defenders coming out to high ground, like, right away.
Right.
It's kind of difficult for the offense to tackle, especially kind of when you're playing, like, a Tracer and you're not really mobile heroes. You see the Gladiators, looks like they're taking a slower approach, wrapping all the way around and trying to fight on the high ground.
It's a nightmare, I think, unless the attackers can wrap around this right side here with 1 or 2 players and sort of make it harder for the defenders to post up here. That's what Kevster's sort of hoping to do with this this pulse bomb. Maybe you can ride the card in just a little bit, but losing Arns here to a Flora headshot. Oh, it's whack-a-mole time with Kevster. He's going to have to recall here. That is not where you want to be as Tracer.
So he's going to have to back up his... looks like Kevster just being tracked down here by Yaki. So Yaki able to finish him off. So that's a pretty big kill as Kevster's doing a lot of the pestering on the back line. As, you know, Space, he's going to be in trouble as some of those sticky bombs get dropped onto Skewed. Looks like they have to be careful. The payload's so close. As you see, remember from the Gladiators, yeah, Space going to back up now, but that payload is so close. Like, when those 2 players were on it, like, in another second or 2, they would have actually had it in before. But coming back into this next fight, really good opportunity for the Gladiators. So if you can get, like, that sound barrier out, potentially, you know, you have the Gravitic Flux, you have your own, you know, Ant Matrix, you're going to have your own Transcendence. So a few big key ultimates for the Gladiators, and you don't need that much to get it across the line.
Yeah, the strategy might actually be to embroil the Excelsior in an extended fight on this high ground and sneak the card in, or at least pressure that, give them the, you know, force them to deal with the prospect of that happening. Gravitic Flux catches Kellen. That's the tank down for the New York Excelsior. This could be a problem.
Grab.
Yep, duplicate there though, comes out from Yaki, so there's still going to be a tank to stand in Kellen's stead for now. Grab will be online soon. Duplicated, Gravitic Flux. Skew's able to get the Transcendence online. No one cares to get rid of Flora. The pressure in the backline is mounting now, and the Gladiators are applying it liberally. Nano boost for Yaki. Keep him alive and burn Skew down. Arns now for the infra site, looking to find a key pick-off here, but New York is starting to stabilize here. Space falls to Kellen. Yaki's safe enough here in the front line, pressuring Shu down. And that will be another fight brought to a stop.
That's a huge comeback there from New York, as that did not look good, especially when you had, like, on setup in that long alleyway on the Widowmaker with the things we know he's able to do. You lose Kellen right away. Yes, end up coming out of the spawn using the grab. Really kind of like the duplicate to give Yaki a little bit of a kind of like an extra go, a little bit more survivability on the Echo. You know, the Gravitic Flux was huge, right? But it actually got the Transcendence out.
Right. Preemptive self-bubble there from Kellen, just in case Arns was probing for a headshot. Arns has to get creative with some of these angles. And you can see that Flora is hoping someone drops into main. That's the defensive contingency for New York. Time's ticking, Matt. We're under a minute left.
Yeah. So they cannot seem to break this high ground. It's like a really nice setup from the Excelsior on like the right side of their spawn. Kind of looking at it from the Gladiators' POV is it was going to have somebody on the bottom like try and move the payload, like force them down to contest this low ground, because if not, you're just giving them that high ground advantage for so long, and you're going to lose Skewed here.
Losing him there, absolutely devastating. Gangnam Jim somehow having to stay alive there. The healing coming down from Myeonbong going to keep him in action, and that's a pretty decisive fight win there for New York. And unclear how Skewed is able to get this picked off there by Kellen, but that takes the wind out of the sails of the Glads.
Absolutely, and this is kind of looking like reminiscent to like what we saw on Midtown, right? Where the Gladiators were able to kind of steamroll through the first one, and then the New York side, they were able to kind of like hold at the end. We'll see if they're able to do it. Here is Flora working on a flank. The Gladiators do have some ultimates to work with.
Flora in the backline, looking for Skewed. Havali's going to force that recall here. Kevster has a pulse bomb, though. Can he find Myeonbong? That is step A. Stuck. It's good. Going to get rid of Myeonbong, but already Shu and his immortality field has fallen. In fact, there's no healers left for the Gladiators. Space had to go for a desperate Gravitic Flux, but there's no one there to keep him topped up, and Kellen's going to burn him down. The NYXL able to stake their claim to this very fancy-looking cart here. The Gladiators are going to be staved off.
Pretty good push from the Gladiators at the end, but New York Excelsior showing you how to use that high ground to your advantage on that last point of Circuit Royal is really difficult to get that card over the line, especially when they can come out of the spawn, return to that high ground. You have some hit scan heroes up there, especially even the Echo here was actually pretty effective from Yaki. We've been talking about it throughout the series, but being able to dive to the lower ground, getting right back up to the high ground, kind of like assassinate those players fast. I don't know how New York decides to play this, though, as we kind of move to their offensive side. Can you run that Zarya here at the beginning? You're going to have no shielding. The Gladiators can play with whether it's the Soldier or the Widowmaker and the street. What happens when we go towards that high ground part of the map? So it looks like the Gladiators on defense, they'll run that Sigma. They won't be running a Soldier 76. They'll have Kevster on the Tracer here. So Tracer Widow, that's kind of like a comp that we've seen in the past, in terms of Overwatch esports. And then for New York, obviously still some time to make changes, but this will be the first time in the series we've seen Yaki on the Genji, which Yaki, very good Genji, very good Tracer in Echo player. So be excited to see if he pulls that one out. I think it would be difficult to make the Echo work here.
Absolutely. A lot of long sight lines to cross here. This is what we were talking about before with Kellen able to find this key pickup here. This is that last fight. A beautiful grab, completely charged up there. Great way to finish things off, especially after Kevster. You can see he's able to, kick Yaki out of Duplicate at that moment as well. So it could have been nasty. Yaki actually will be playing the Echo again. And yeah, your tempting fate here is Arns is going to be probing for that airborne target.
Looks like 4. Looking for a shot here. This has to be so, this is a sick Widowmaker matchup already, but hey man, when you see Ons come in, you know he's going to be playing the Widow, and it just has to scare you a little bit just with the ability to be able to take over the game. Is Yaki has to get really high, almost get directly above where you would play with a Widowmaker here, so the shot would have to be extremely difficult, almost looking straight up.
Yep. Yaki does have the solid snake under a cardboard box for most of this first stretch, right? And just not get spotted by Arns. He's able to sneak up, though. A lot of pressure being generated by Flora, especially in Space's direction. And there he is, he's gone.
A lot, though. Think about kind of how you have to make this work, right? You have to dedicate at least one of the Zarya bubbles to Yaki. He has to be able to close the gap. And then you're providing that, there's no in this case, an immortality field there to be able to kind of keep Ons alive. It's just really difficult to get that pick.
The All-Star medal
way hard, yeah.
Space's portrait, I quite enjoy that. What I see now is, again, New York don't generate too much in that last fight. They do get close to the bend, but this hairpin is pretty brutal for attackers to make their way through as well. And there's environmental kill potential. Something like that. But this high damage backline from the Gladiators, you're bringing Skewed in to sub in for Funny Astro, is the exact kind of thing that's going to pressure Kellen down, force those bubbles to be used early and often. Kevster probably doesn't build a pulse in this next salvo, but there's a lot of pressure coming from this guy, and he is waiting. The patience is palpable. Will it be rewarded? Get that pulse available after just one salvo with shots.
He's going to the high ground. It looks like maybe trying to make a play for Flora. That'll be the pulse bomb, and doesn't get a kill with it, but On's able to find a shot onto Kellen.
Oh, this is tough. What are you really supposed to do as Kellen? How do you maintain your own survivability and for teammates to get to this Zen Baptiste, this Widow setup?
Well, especially because you're almost dedicating at least one of the bubbles to Yaki, right? He needs a bubble to go in and make a play. So that's already one of your bubbles gone.
The Reaper guy, man! He's got to come in from the side and get lots of value. I love this guy.
He's got some time to build up towards his special move, but he gets taken out of basically no HP there. I guess you kind of well, you bring in Reaper here, he's much more self-sufficient than a Widowmaker, where Reaper had some lifesteal to him, can kind of just play a little bit on his own. Right there, though, it's an Amp Matrix and Shu. You see how big the window is, all the damage coming through there. Getting buffed. That takes out Yaki right away. So, Laura, yep, they can see there.
This is the same thing we saw in the previous map match, right? Yeah, a good
just how Midtown
defense from New York, and then when they have to attack, they just get stuffed.
Yeah, you see the sightline that Ons has. That can go right towards the spawn here.
Kevster.
How can you even get? Look at New York squad. They're just how do we even get out?
Pinging like sonar he is. He's indicating the locations there of those New York players. Kellen, that's a bubble used for 0 value. Frustrating for the Zarya player, true. Especially with the Graviton Surge in the back pocket. Kellen must make this very effective. If New York want to have any hopes of advancing past this nasty little choke point, and bear in mind there's a Gravitic Flux, Trendsetter's available. It's about to get heavy. Once more, Gravitic Flux now on Kellen's going to be a sound barrier used, so Zarya will be standing tall for the time being, but that Graviton Surge doesn't quite connect in the way they would have liked it to. Still, Flora's able to find the assassination kill on Arns, blows him up. Yaki once again duplicates Space, and the accretion connects. They get rid of Space. They use a lot of ultimates, but New York are on the road again in overtime.
Yes, maybe. Oh, I was going to say maybe have an opportunity to fight this again, because there's still a decent amount of space for the payload to travel to unlock this next part of the map. Where is it worth it for the Gladiators to jump down and contest? Space switches open to
Why not?
So maybe you do want to jump down and play a little bit closer. Yeah, Space wants to go down, make a touch. They want to play for this.
Flora getting pressured, Discord orb applied there, and Answer's going to get taken down by Yaki. So nice little 1-2 punch there from the Excelsior DPS players, and Yaki, he's popping off just a little bit there. Nice 3 kills from Yaki, sticky bombs there to secure the deal. And that's a time extension of 2.5 minutes here from New York.
Yeah, Yaki gets the nano boost there, and you see what you can actually do with that nano in this type of situation. So some comp changes from the Gladiators coming through. Take a look at this from Yaki's POV. It was actually Flora who was putting pressure onto Ons there, so allowed him to really kind of finish that player off, get Shu, and then double back for the tank. So the Gladiators will make a change. They'll play the Soldier 76 here. Really good. It's just constantly pressuring with damage from this high ground. And you see kind of everybody like way different than Overwatch 1, right? In the sense that you don't not having everybody just kind of like sit on the payload with like a 2 or 2 shields pretty much. You have people like kind of like using some of this like map cover obviously instead, trying to take fights with not in the line of sight of the 76 because of things like that.
I mean, the pick's definitely a consideration to deal with Yaki there. Aren't getting pressured pretty heavily though, and without space, there's no bubble, there's no defensive cooldowns. Aren't eventually is just overwhelmed. All right, HD TV deployed for Shu, and Kent is able to find a double with the pulse bomb. That's big. Flora now really needs to step up in a big way, but Shu has an orb of harmony, and Flora is going to head for the heals. Kempson doesn't want to let him get away, and he'll be able to catch him. Yaki, though, puts him down. It's Myeonbong with the biotic grenade, and a very sad immortality field there. A second too late from Shu.
I mean, that's kind of like, I feel like you're going to see a lot of that this season. Obviously, with the switch to 5v5, like, those 2Ks and like big plays like that just mean so much more with like less players on each team. As first like kills,
you just killed 40% of their team, homie.
Yeah, I mean the first 2 kills are coming from the Excelsior, but it's Kevster popping off, and you see there the nano boost being able to finish off Space really quick.
Transcendence there. Gonna be used as the Gladiators look to just try and hold it a little bit longer, but Kellen's able to find a beautiful Graviton Surge, and Skewed will not be allowed to get away with his life. Now, New York have a legitimate opportunity here of winning this map. Another time extension from here, and it's pretty healthy, honestly. They're going to have 2 minutes to work with to finish the map. Can they control the outside part of this building? That's going to be key.
I think what I expect to happen here, though, is the Gladiators play way more aggressive than New York did. Like, they can try and play for this, like, first high ground bridge, especially with the Soldier. And you're going to have this Tac Visor coming up soon. You're going to have Graviton Surge as well. So, maybe able to play a little bit more forward than we saw New York did, because New York played pretty passively, like, right? Like, as soon as the Gladiators, like, started moving the cart inside of the hotel here, they were able to almost make it all the way to that final stretch.
Space here, I mean, like you mentioned, Matthew wants to pressure a little bit more. Already Wraithwalk from Flora has been drawn out. Yaki's trying to get over the top of the situation, maybe a duplicate and a Graviton Surge. There's the dupe. Yaki going to go for a Tracer here, though, now as Arns with the tactical bites from the high ground. It necessitates a sound barrier from New York, and Yaki didn't spend long in duplicate at all. Arns, what's a bit of Myeonbong here? Does see Kellen lingering a little close, but Kellen's got other problems. He's trying to keep his backline alive. He's busy peeling, but it works out. Yaki gets rid of Skewed here. Flora pressured down. Shu with the DPS boots on. They're looking pretty darn good, but New York are pushing on.
And now it seems like the Echo has really been paying off as Shu drops his Hand Matrix and actually like buys them some time. Right? They don't want to play in the line of sight of it as
Shu.
Yeah, Myeonbong using his nano boost. I'm surprised Shu went up there and challenged that again, knowing at least 2 players were there.
Maybe he thinks Yaki's already gone somewhere else. He thinks he's just nicked off somewhere, but that's punishing, man. That's a lot of healing gone for the Gladiators now until Shu gets back out of spawn. Kempson with a pulse bomb now. That's the Graviton Surge from Kellen. That's a stick there. It's a beautiful one, but it's not enough to find elimination. Kellen takes a big lick of damage, and the New York Excelsior, they're pushing on. Desperately, the Gladiators trying to hang on here. Biotic Fuel going to be deployed, but it's not going to be enough. Yaki runs them down. Shu Biotic Grenade connected, and that should be enough to get the job done. We're in overtime now. We see desperation for Space as he tries to put it out on the point, but the D.Va really stalls well right now, especially in a 5v5 format. So Space able to keep things going, eventually going to be brought down. Arns needs to step up onto the point, Matt. Time is short.
He's also getting very close to the attack visor. The immortality field comes out. Arns is going to get the visor here.
Boom.
And you're going to have Transcendence. The Gladiators may be able to turn this.
Pulse Bomb Flora catches onto Anso. Transcendence had to be used there, sure enough. Down barrier for New York, and Kellen comes back in on the Doomfist. Kemp's going to be running to the ground. No one now. Space needs to try and keep this going. Defense Matrix used on his last legs, of course, with a Bionic Grenade connecting to the Diva. No healing available. We know Shu's up on that high ground. He's forced to drop down now as Space in Mini Diva form makes a valiant attempt to keep this round going. It's not going to be enough, no. And New York won't be denied. They'll extend this series, make it a 2-1.
All right, so New York finally break through. They've been close on some of these maps. They finally break through here, though, which means we'll see push. We will end up seeing new Queen Street. So excited to see how that kind of maybe turns the tide in this series. We see a game 5 to kick things off.
I mean, imagine that in our first match of Season 5 of the Overwatch League here. What a great way to showcase the work these teams have been putting in the off-season. New York want to make it a map 5 to do so. They need to win New Queen Street, which will be coming up after the break.
for pulse-pounding action. It's time for gear-grinding gaming. It's time for Overwatch League Season 5. Come on down to youtube.com/Overwatch League for all of the brand spanking new Overwatch 2 action. And this time, it's a whole new way to play. 5 season, 5 fun, 5v5, only $5. Just kidding, it's free. You'll see Sojourn, Tank Doomfist, Bastion with a hat. Hey kids, do try this at home. And now, for a limited time only, you can get in on the Overwatch 2 PvP beta action yourself with beta codes, beta codes, beta codes. This season, on opening weekend and select matches, we're giving away 1,500 beta codes to the Overwatch 2 PvP beta per hour. Make sure your YouTube account is connected to your Battle.net account and glue your eyeballs to your screens so you don't miss out on all of the hard-hitting action. 5th season, Bastion with a hat, beta codes. Tune in to the Overwatch League for your chance to get access to the Overwatch 2 PvP beta.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this first match of Season 5 of the Overwatch League. And it started off, well, looking like the Gladiators were going to make short work of it. But in the final moments of Circuit Royal, it was the Excelsior who dug a little deeper and found the answer.
Yeah, no, they push it towards that map 4, which I was hoping we would see and get to see push on New Queen Street. It's a map that I know a lot of the teams and players that I've spoken to are really excited about. I think Danny was talking about it a little bit earlier on the desk, like so many different like routes and flanking opportunities and just kind of like the opportunities to get back towards the bot. And I'm also curious to see, like, we've seen like show matches and like showcases, I guess, of like push at a competitive level, but it's obviously different when you put it into regular season play and like high level competition. How these teams have kind of like worked out over the last month or so, how to play this map mode.
Absolutely, and I get to showcase this first run on push here in the Overwatch League. We have some substitutions for the Gladiators. So Patapan comes back in for Arns, Rhino rejoins, subbing in for Space, and Funny Astro is back in here at support, which definitely indicates that we should expect to see that Lucio make yet another appearance. And Matt, I think something that interests me especially about push maps in general, but also New Queen Street, is just how many opportunities there are for individual players to try and flank, to try and set themselves up in really advantageous spots. So we talked about Soldier 76 right on that previous map. He's very quick, very much able to get into some of these really punishing positions, whether it's high ground or sort of wide flanking angles on this particular map. And both of these teams have those DPS that are considered as individual playmakers, people looking to really go ham and to take some risks to tilt things in their team's favor.
Yeah, and you kind of think about, obviously this year, no Assault in the pool, right? Assault, they're just not really a thing.
So,
and
that's
push
true.
comes
It actually
in.
doesn't exist.
Yeah, just, it's just not a thing. So push kind of comes in, and it's just a completely, 180 turns of game mode, right? Like, Assault was a little bit, kind of could go on for a very long time, right? You'd have, a decent amount of ties. Like, push is fast. It's, really aggressive, like, chaos, and it's, 8-minute game, right? Like, you need to make plays and kind of be effective, right off the bat. It is not a, we're going to switch sides or we're going to take time. Like, you kind of have to start this off well. So, I think, a lot of teams are going to put a lot of emphasis on, I would not be surprised if, the first fight, drags on a little bit. Both teams are going to be, wanting to win that first fight. I feel like it's a pretty big advantage.
Absolutely. I like to think of it as a symmetrical escort map, right? Or it combines the best parts of the sort of control and hybrid escort map types. One thing worth bearing in mind is that as that barricade sort of moves to either end of the map, in between those barricades, the bot moves really quickly. So just because you get pushed back, a fair bit defensively, once you do manage to take control of the bot, it's not long before you're making your own gains across the map, with the bot quickly getting in position to push your barricade. That being said, if we have matchups this year, I'm not expecting this one to be the case, but if we have matchups that are a little lopsided, you can finish these maps in if you win
really
3 fights in a row, 4 fights in a row. So yeah, you say 8 minutes, that's the maximum map time. In some cases, it could be even much, much shorter than that. But let's see what we've got here. Both teams with the Soldier mat. Speed is key. It makes sense.
Yeah, and you kind of have some high ground right at the start of where the bot spawns. So you kind of have the position that the New York Excelsior are trying to take, or where you see the Gladiators, you're going to have Kevster up in that kind of bridge area trying to shoot through some of the windows.
Reiner pinging Kellen there, trying to maybe get some attention turned towards the Winston. Great sleep dark connection there, but Patapan's already found himself 2 quick kills. The resets are coming thick and fast, and the Genji highlights in these early moments. The bot, you better believe, is on the way.
It has been a while since, because, right, like, once the introduction of, like, Brigitte and even, like, Baptiste, right, like, just lower the amount of Genji you've seen, and, like, now some of the CC comes out, you can start to see plays like this again. Is, man, fantastic there from Patapan as he's able to take out 2 really fast on the Genji.
The deflection of the Helix rocket accounts for a huge amount of that damage. There it is. Okay, so Shu gets involved in that poke damage. Remember, Ana is a lethal weapon in the right hand, especially on a map that has such wide sight lines.
Yeah, obviously support is much different here in Overwatch 2 than Overwatch 1, where it's not as much of just kind of like staring at your tanks or, the players in front of you and healing. You have to be a little bit more of an offensive threat as well, which Shu definitely is. It looks like Yaki there was actually trying to get on the Bunny Astro, but not able to take him out. You hear that kind of ding. They actually got it to that first checkpoint. I don't believe they kind of pushed it far enough to unlock that next respawn, as it looks like it's going back the other way a little bit as New York was on it.
Yeah, we'll see what Kellen can do here. The sound barrier for the Gladiators means they want to re-engage here.
They're going to have Blade here.
Didn't get it. Patapan making short work here of Flora and gets rid of Myeonbong. It was very low though. The sound barrier allowed him to close the gap, but it had basically expired once he was in the fight. Kellen showcasing Winston's new right click quite nicely there, if I do say so. He finds 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's like one of the first, ones we've seen today. Is looks like the Gladiators, they actually, they get that first checkpoint. Now they'll pull back a little bit.
They have a front spawn now.
Yeah, it's going to take some time for the robots to kind of start getting, go in the other direction. So,
and they don't lose that forward spawn, right? Until the bot pushes back to neutral at least.
Yeah, but they had everybody like just about up at that time. They're going to have a nano boost here. You may have to use on a Reiner to keep him up, as you're going to lose Yaki. You're going to lose Kevs.
Patapan's actually going to be the target there, Matt. He's hit with the biotic grenade, and that sound barrier is going to make it very hard for any damage to stick. The Excelsior have the defensive responses here, and Yaki's able to turn that into offense now by dispatching Reiner. New York are definitely on the road.
New York now get the bot moving in their direction, and you got a duplicate and you got a tac visor. So the tac visor in some of this open space, it's a lot of cover for the Gladiators to hide behind, but I know you may be able to get to a spot. Well, you may end up with 2 tac visors here, depending on how this goes. But you maybe get to a spot where you just kind of like force them into some pretty bad areas. It's going to be a potential for a double tac visor.
Okay, Yaki doesn't. I mean, the problem is that the tac visor has a set duration, right? Flora now going to go for one of his own. That one is a little less inspiring there, as Reiner able to force away. Kellen with the primal rage that was causing some problems. Reiner trying to do the same, but he's hit with the biotic grenade. Kellen looks just to want to disperse the Gladiators as much as humanly possible here to the high ground, and Patapan cannot deny the Tesla cannon damage.
Yeah, I was going to say, they didn't make a ton of progress with the bot because a lot of the fighting just kind of like happens away from the objective and now kind of like moves all the way back, starting to get the barricade moving. As you see, it's the Gladiators with about 57 meters, a little bit over that. In terms of how far they've moved it. We're going to get a nano on a Yaki here as this fight could push New York over the line.
Tactical visor from Kevster there, so Yaki just has to bow out of that particular sight line. Patapan's able to find Gangnam there as everyone disperses. Yaki eats that Helix, but Kevster can't hang around too long within the purview of Kellen, especially with Reiner being as low as he is. Biotic grenade from Shu defensively can't keep the tank for the Glads alive, but Kevster still wants to force the issue. They don't want to give up a front spawn now as Patapan finds the blade. That's good damage. He's found one, and Gangnam shuts him down.
Yeah, but the Gladiators, to get the bomb moving back in their direction, they have to use the sound barrier, the blade there. It looks like New York able to get back in control rather quickly. They're gonna be able to take out Shu. You're so low. Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, Kellen jumps on him, puts down some damage. You had some shots from Yaki, so you end up losing really both supports here. So the Gladiators have to back up a bit. Opportunity for New York to take the lead.
Yep, they just took the lead here. Well, I mean, it's equal now.
They're going to match in terms of checkpoint, yeah.
In a moment, the bot's going to push it up. They get that front spawn as well now. So they'll be able to reinforce this more advanced location a little quicker. And here we go, Flora with attack visor, maybe going to wait out the bubble there from the Wind still, who's in the back line. Pataphan trying to blink away from this one. Reiner also nano boosted for a lot of damage reduction there, but it's going to be Shu getting picked off. Yaki's traded out though. Reiner still trying to play around the bot as much as he can, but Pataphan deals with Flora, and the Gladiator's able to shift things back.
And you can just see like how much cover they've added to some of these maps. Like when we see from the Soldier 76 POV with attack visor, like there's so many things to hide behind and kind of like, you know, strafe behind. It obviously plays like way more like a shooter, where in the past you just kind of like stand behind a barrier. And to see the teams just be able to avoid that, you know, cover necessary. It's really good to see, I think, for like just the health of the game, right? You know, to be able to use some of the cover and, you know, players be spread out a little bit more and still survive some of these powerful ults. So he's getting blasted.
And he's still good. They kept him alive. I think it was going to be a world start by Kellen there, but I think the positioning for Shu was great to keep him alive. The Glads have to win 2 fights in a row here. 1 to reset the forward spawn, 2 to actually get ahead here. And it looks like they're able to do that right now. They're going to go in the lead here as the bot starts to push away. They have a front spawn. They have ultimates to spend as well.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, you know, this game mode is very fast compared to, you know, a game mode like Assault that we've had in the past, where, you know, it's just this 1 8-minute round. Is you know, you're already down to 1:20 on the clock.
Stick. Big one there from Pataphan. It's for
huge.
2. Beautiful. This could be the New York Excelsior starting to fall apart. Myeonbong has to give a good account of himself, but Ryder's going to be there from behind, and Shu deals with Kellen. That is so punishing now. There's 1 minute and 10 left in the round. For the Excelsior to try and match this progress on the other side of the map, it's going to take 2, maybe even 3 fights in a row.
Yeah, and you're also, you know, you have this attack visor with the nano coming in here at the end. You're going to have a sound barrier invested here for the Gladiators as well, as that's going to be 2 huge picks there from Kepser. So they're looking to maybe complete the map, but it looks like one player is actually contesting on the bot. That was Flora. So, you know, just his contest may have just saved, you know, the map from ending right here.
I mean, absolutely. The Gladiators are so far ahead, though, with this push that, I mean, for New York to win this map, it has to happen in overtime, which means they have to sort of win every fight from here on out. So it is a very tall order for them to stand up to here. And the Gladiators, yeah, losing Pataphan there, they're happy to back away and to put this in overtime and get ready to retake. They still have a front spawn for now, so they want to regroup.
You can almost play like defense here for the Gladiators, like, you know, kind of where the bot originally spawns. You know, force New York to use some of these ultimates and then come back in another fight with your own, right? Because you have, you know, a huge lead in terms of, you know, how far that bot is pushed.
Myeonbong point blank sleep dart there to make sure Reiner is out of commission for the time being. Pataphan's not able to connect that pulse. Oh, the sticky bombs though for Yaki. Absolutely perfect. Now it's going to be Kellen diving on him with the Primal Rage. Wants to put a bit of pressure here on towards that Ana, and Shu is not going to get away alive. Kellen, though, also might not fare so well. He's able to dive away with that reset on the jump, and New York, okay, have to stay on the bot, Matt.
And they're going to have a Primal Rage, the Gladiators. New York is going to, you know, they keep both supports alive. They're going to have a sound barrier and a nano here. As we see now, the nano's been so effective onto Yaki or Kellen. There's a chance that New York may just run this the distance.
They had to win the next 2 fights, though. Both of them. Defensive body grenade has to be used there for Shu. Finding Astro trying to stay out of line of sight of Kellen. He's probing with those right clicks, but there it is. Myeonbong's taken down. Reiner stands tall there with a key pick. And who's he looking for now? Up in the sky. Is it a bird? It's a plane. No, it's a smear on the walls. What left of Yaki as Reiner deals with him as well. The young rookie coming up here from Contenders is absolutely making a splash, bathing in the blood of New York as the Gladiators secure the series here on New Queen Street.
Fantastic showing there from really both teams on New Queen Street. You thought like New York may be able to like make a run back there towards the end, but the Gladiators too strong. As now the Gladiators, they win this series today, and I don't want to say it's like, you know, the Gladiators, like, you know, maybe they kind of like underperformed expectations. I actually think they're phenomenal. I think it's probably just more people sleeping on New York, and New York may be a little bit better than people expected. Excited to watch them in some more matches going forward.
Yeah, tough to really see any sort of glaring weaknesses on this New York roster, right? But I mean, have a look at Myeonbong in that camera. If there's any player who gets extremely fired up after a loss, it is this guy. Remember his time on Boston when he was, I mean, like a thundercloud. You could say the same for Yaki, right? Yaki, having spent a lot of time on, look, admittedly a team where he had to outshine his teammates by, you know, a factor of 2 almost every game, and you could see it on his face that he felt like he was carrying all the time. He doesn't have to do that on this roster anymore. but there's definitely a lot for the Excelsior to work out now, and their return here to North America is a tough one. Matt, our player of the match here for me. A pretty tough one to call, actually. Patapon really stepped up in the series, but it was a slow start for him. So our player of the match is going to be Kevster. Very impressive work for him. What a great way to add an honor to that role right off the bat here in Season 5.
Yeah, Soldier 76 was really strong pick here today from Kevster, but also like kind of flexed onto a lot of other different heroes throughout the series. And I think, you know, even last year in previous seasons in Overwatch League, we kind of seen like this split between like, you know, flex and hit scan DPS kind of just be merged into like, you know, one player who can kind of do it all. I think that's going to be even more important this year, you know, as time goes on. And, you know, Kevster can really play it all and play it all at an extremely high level. You combo him with, you know, Patiphan and Onsen. Super scary DPS combo.
Yeah, and look, I think one of the biggest lessons to take away from this match is that, you know, depending on whose hands they're in, the Genji, the Tracer pick, still really devastating, still really punishing. We've seen Patapon find, like, you know, a ton of these multi-kill scenarios where he's able to use those dash resets really effectively. And Kevster, we got to see him on, you know, a variety of things. And as we expected, the Soldier 76, very, very scary here. Almost those 10 final blows per 10 minutes, so that, you know, 1 per 10 mark. Look, remember, now with one less player on the field for both teams, final blows per 10, if you're still getting towards that 10 mark,
yeah.
that is extremely good.
That's
There's
crazy.
one less player to sort of blow up here. But a great start to the Gladiators 2022 campaign, Matthew.
Yeah, it kind of sets them on the path of where we think they'll be for this year. Like one of the contenders, you know, not just for the best team in North America, but the best team in the entire world. And I think New York coming over to the Western region, playing in the East, a little bit of an adjustment, but I think they're going to be better than what people expected.
Absolutely. They look quite good so far. Obviously only the one map for them in this series, but definitely some shining of hope for them in the future. Stick around, everybody. We've got much more games to come today here on our first match day of Season 5. Stick around, of course, and we'll be back soon enough.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League. Bye.